Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Weighing Room, where after a week off, we are back to preview a superb 11 races across Saturday afternoon, with all of them being live on ITV Racing. Today, we're going back to usual as we're joined by Frankie and Paul, and to go through all the action. Lads, been a few weeks. We're just talking off air. How are we?
Oh, good, yeah. Time flies, doesn't it? I'm trying to think where I've been and what I've been doing. Goodwood week and Galway week. That was it. The big one last week. So, I had a good week. Not so much on the punting. I didn't find many winners, but I had a good time.
Yeah, Goodwood was tough, wasn't it? And Galway was even tougher, I think. But it's still cracking weeks racing. Paul, how was your week?
Yeah, it was great. I had a nice bit of time off there. We went down, myself and wife and the two kids went down to Curragh and then on to Callaghan for a few days. So closest I got to seeing a horse race. Bit short on Wi-Fi and whatnot down there. So closest I got to seeing horses last week was the horse and carts around Muckross and that on the outskirts of Killarney. So that was it. Looking forward to the weekend, obviously. So starved of a bit of action.
Yeah, well, like I said, today we're going to go through 11 live races, which consists of racing from Ascot with their Curragh Cup meeting, Haydock with the Rose of Lancaster Stakes taking centre stage, and the Curragh, where they show off the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes that looks an absolute cracker this year. We'll get straight into it then, fellas. And the first race we're going to cover ahead of this weekend is the 135 Dubai Duty Free, full of surprises classified stakes, over 7 furlongs. And Paul, we'll start with you on this one. Who do you like in the opener?
I've gone with Divine Magic. I think it represents a bit of value around about the 5 to 1, 11 to 2 mark. His form has been pretty consistent. Was a winner at Leicester 2 starts back. Second at Newmarket behind Dubai Love, who has a rating of 96. The highest rated here is 95. She was only beaten about a neck by Dubai Love on that occasion. So I think if Divine Magic reproduces that run, I think she'll be thereabouts. So Divine Magic, bit of value around about the 5 to 1 mark.
Yeah, I'm joining you to start us off. I'm going with Divine Magic as well, around 11 to 2 as I look to our right. Yeah, around 11 to 2. And it was just that she was only bumped up £2 in the weight for her latest run at Newmarket. And she's only a next second, as you say, behind Dubai Love, who's quite a nice horse, I think. Yeah. I think she goes close again. I think she does represent value in the field. Look, Orban at the top of the market obviously ran a cracking race at Goodwood, but has been penalised for it. And I just think Divine Magic, if getting a clear run, has got a cracking chance. So, yeah, I will join you there. Frankie, you going to make it a hat-trick or are you going elsewhere?
I am. 3 from 3, lads, to kick us off. I'm in the same camp. Just been really consistent over the last 4 runs. She's gone second, first, third, all over 7 furlongs, all solid enough runs. And I just think coming here off the back of that last run, as the pair of you have just said, has got to be in with a chance and an each way shot to take on the favourite with the penalty. That would be my play, yeah. Each way with Divine Magic. Yeah,
if you also look at the horses she's been finishing in behind, at York in the Class 3 Fillies Handicap, she was behind Heredia, who's obviously turned out to be quite a nice horse. Race before that, at Newmarket, she was behind Nizaka for Jane Chapel-Iron, that's obviously turned out to be quite a nice horse as well. And as we've already talked about, Dubai Love, no pushover. So some nice horses she's finished in behind, and hopefully she can use that form to go close around the 11 to 2 mark. So staying at Ascot for the next event, and it is the Curragh Cup Dash over 5 furlongs. This is the first of many very tricky races we're going to be covering, I think. Frankie, who do you like in this one?
I've written down about 4 horses here. Here's a tricky one. But Manacan I've settled with. A good second at Chester last time when I'm pretty certain, just double checking, was carrying top weight that day. Before that, 5th at Ascot in a competitive handicap. Royal Week is always competitive. And then 4th over 5 in a group race that Twilight Jet run. So that's not bad form either in there. Comes into this carrying 9 stone 10, but there's a fair few in here carrying over 10 stone. So not necessarily at the top of the weights. And I think it's kind of fair having that decent run at Chester latest, carrying top weight and still coming second. It's going to be quick. You know, Chester's sharp. Ascot was competitive. This will be quick again. But I think it's, from what I could try and pick at the weights, probably the one going into this fairly weighted, in my opinion, and in with a chance.
Well, like the first race we covered, I'm joining you on this one because I honestly spent probably half an hour on this race. I'm not even joking. I went through every horse with a fine-tooth comb, just trying to find a different angle, because there's so many good horses that just haven't performed well for a long, long time, and they could just pop up with a big run, and you go, you know what, fair play, it's a good enough horse to go and win this off a lower mark. But the thing with Manukyan that I picked out is, I just thought as a 3-year-old, he's more or less exposed than a lot of these in the field, probably still improving where others are declining. And like you say, after top weight at Chester last time, this is going to be sharp again. Already running at Ascot, over the 6 furlongs over 5 furlongs at the Royal Ascot meeting, and was 5th in a 27-runner field. I just thought he had a lot going for him, and currently around 11 to 2, I think, represents the value in the field. So he wouldn't be the strongest bet I'm probably going to have on the Saturday, but around 11 to 2, I think Manukyan's the value in this field. For you, Paul?
I've gone with Arecibo. Probably short enough. 134 to 1. I'm seeing, he wouldn't. I don't think he'll go off much shorter, but you wouldn't be backing him if he was around about the 3 to 1 mark. But I do think on his best form, he have to have a serious chance in this. He has 2 ways of running. He was third, only beaten 2 lengths in the Group 2 at Haydock back in May. Was second in the King's Stand behind Oxted last season. He only beat 1 home in the Group 3 at Sandown last time out. However, in a race that got quite congested coming into the closing stages, he was only beaten about 2.5 lengths by the winner. And I just think Arecibo, I'm going to take a chance. I don't think he's going to go off any shorter, and he might even drift out to maybe 5s if you are getting him involved. But I'm going to go for a going day with Arecibo.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think Arecibo will get much shorter than probably what he is now, but he does feel like that gap of Arecibo, Hurricane Ivor, Judicial, Lampang, Blue de Vega, that are all very smart sprinters, but just haven't been running well, either their last race or of late. They could just pop up. And Arecibo on a going day has run some cracking races in Group 1. And if you get back to that form, he's obviously very tough to beat. So the next race we're going to cover, and it's the first event on ITV from Haydock. It's the 225 Class 2 handicap over a mile. Another tricky one to call, Paul. Who are you going with?
225 Haydock. I've gone with Mr. McCann, who struggled in the Britannia last time out. He ran well for a long way in a Group 2 at Cologne in a race won by Maljum the time before that. He was a winner at Haydock over 7 furlongs earlier on in his career, and he does like to go forward. And I think just facing the 6 opponents, he could be dangerous off the front end. So Mr. McCann for me. Yeah,
course and distance winner. It's obviously owned by, I think is this one owned by Liverpool players, or is that a different?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
This is the one owned by the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, James Milner, stuff like that. I think Henderson's involved as well, so that'll be a nice winner for Liverpool fans and the Liverpool players. Frankie, are you signing with this one?
The same. I remember being at Chester when they ran this in the race that Star of India won, and although they didn't think that they were, they weren't necessarily hugely competitive that day, they saw this as a good horse and one that's maybe been, as Paul said, running well in races of better standard than this, especially that one that Maljum ran. And it's won here before. It's run at the Trip. There's a few question marks over others stepping up in Trip. I wouldn't really be too strong on anything in this. I couldn't have the faith. And elsewhere, a bit of value. Mr. McCann was where I settled. Maybe some of that bias because I remember being at Chester that day when they were speaking about it. But it's a decent enough horse that can definitely win a race of this standard.
Well, I'm going to take you both on, and I do fancy the favourite in this one. To be fair,
I thought you were going to say that.
I do like the favourite from a simple point that I thought the field wasn't great at all. I think Electrical Storm hasn't been seen that often. Yes, a 5-year-old, but probably over the last few years he's quite unexposed. And you've seen for the first time this season since December 2020, went to York over 9 furlongs in a Class 4 handicap and won very easily off a mark of 83 that day. It was bumped up £9 last time out at Sandown. Ran another cracker, I thought. Finished 3rd of 15, was up to 10 furlongs, off the same mark here. I thought this looked an easier event. Like you said with Mr. McCann, this is probably running in an easier event than they have been running in. And I think this is an easier event than what Electrical Storm ran in last time. And I thought Sidebin Raw, he only sends a handful really to this course. He's been a nice bit of form, 26% strike rate is running at currently. I just thought 15 to 8, I was happy to play the favourite in this one. So back over to Ascot for their Curragh Cup meeting. Another tough event. It's the Curragh Cup Stayers event. Frankie, we'll go with you to start on this one. Who'd you like?
Rock Eagle, I'm going with. I hate a 7-2. You'd like a bit of 4-1 maybe in a race like this to play a cautious each way, but 7-2 I'm looking at current. You might actually have something different. But yeah, it's running that Ascot handicap with a couple of these as well. Running that, I'd reverse that form. Gone beat Rock Eagle that day, but off the weights today, I'd reverse that form there and make my day as well. I think ran in that handicap. Last time out, a good second at Newbury over 2 miles. This is obviously slightly shorter, 1-7. If you look back through the form, this horse has won once over around 1-7 on the all-weather, and then if you go right back, was behind Truchem, which is not a bad bit of form, but you've got to go back a few years to find that. I just think, it's been running well in handicaps over 2 miles, probably better suited with slights, just that one less furlong over. Is it 1-7 or what we're going today? Yeah, 1-7.
Just under 2 mile.
2 mile, pretty much. Yeah, it is. Yeah, if you look at it now, it's been running over 2 miles, 2 mile 3, 2 mile 1. So slight drop back. There's one at that trip well before, fairly weighted, and I think it's a half decent bait. But like I said, I would like a bit of 4-1 if it was to pop up. I'd play it each way. Yeah,
the thing is with Rock Eagle, I'll be gutted if it wins. Obviously, I'll be happy for you, but I'll be gutted for myself because I tipped it up last time, was narrowly beaten, and I'm jumping off today. And we know what we're like on this pod. When we jump off horses, they normally seem to win, don't they? So, we'll have to see with that one. Paul, who are you going for?
I've gone the same. I've gone Rock Eagle for the reasons Frankie touched on. He's probably not the easiest horse to ride. I think tactically, Kieran McAvoy, I think he's going to have to deliver a bit of a peach here, I think, to get Rock Eagle's head in front at the right time. I think he's he doesn't want to be in front too soon, but he's got the right man on board. I was quite happy. I went for Rock Eagle before the jockeys were declared, or were picked for the horses. So quite happy seeing Kieran McAvoy. Manny will be familiar, of course, from his time in England when riding for Godolphin. So gone with Rock Eagle. Throne Hall was one that I did have a second look at. Does like to go forward. I'd imagine Throne Hall will make the running. Has Emma Jane Wilson on board. But just, I think Throne Hall will come up short again. So it's Rock Eagle for me.
I'd love to make it a hat-trick of Rock Eagles, but I've got to say one of my strongest bets of the day is probably with Super Jack in this one. Short enough now around the 7-4 mark. Was 9-4 before, and maybe able to get a bit better value with some different firms, so I'd shop about. But this horse, I put it up last week at Goodwood's and got absolutely smashed off the board, 17-2 into like 7-2, 3-1. And I was surprised to see it get beat, how it flew home that day. Only up £4 for this race. I don't think the handicap has got him at all. I think Milton Harris is a bit of a shrewdy when it comes to races like this. Super Jack's, of course, and distance winner as well. I just thought he had absolutely everything going for him in this race. I think he's much better than a mark of 86. The gamble last time showed that they obviously fancy this horse around the Curragh market is. And he's been in a superb form of late. And I just would have wanted a bit better than 7-4. But I do think he's probably one of my strongest bets on the Ascot card. And I think Super Jack can go one better than what he did last time.
I backed him at Goodwood. That was the start of 3 from 3 losers for me that day.
I'll be blaming you then for that.
Yeah, it's got to have a chance. So, just got there a little bit late.
Well, yeah. It's just the way he ran last time. I was expecting it to win when I saw all the money come, because obviously we do a lot of things, don't we? 2 days before, day before, and the price was there 17-2, 8-1, and I was happy to take that. And then when I saw it go into 3-1, I thought, oh, happy days! Everyone else is jumping on, and look, absolutely flew home. And I just think if maybe Nicola Curry rides a bit smarter, maybe, then I think Kieran O'Neill, who was on board last time, I just think Super Jack can go and win this race. So the feature event at Haydock on Saturday is the Group 3 Rose of Lancaster Stakes over 1 mile 2. Won by some nice horses in the past. A Dave, a winner of this race previously. Paul, who takes this year's renewal?
Oh, I'm going to stick with a horse that I flagged up the last time he ran, was Grocer Jack. I think he was very impressive when opening up his UK account and listed company at Newbury last time out. He's a Group 3 winner in Germany and Italy, but I do think if he turns up in the same form at Haydock as he did at Newbury, I don't think he'll be beaten. Like, I'm seeing 7-4 here, and it's like 4-1, 5-1 bar him for this race. I think 7-4 could hopefully look a massive price shortly after 3 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, we both put Grosser Jack up that day, didn't we? And I thought he'd go and win, but not how he would.
He was impressive, wasn't he?
Very impressive. But like I've done already, I'm jumping off Grosser Jack, and I am going for Anne Martin this. And I have got my reasons for this. Grosser Jack I completely respect, absolutely great horse, and could go on to improve even more under William Haggas, who's obviously been in the form of his life this season. But Anmar, Owen Burrows is another trainer who's been in some serious form this season. He's landed multiple Group 1s. And I just think this is another one, a nice one in the yard that maybe not be a Group 1 horse, but definitely a progressive horse that could take the beating in this around the 5-1 mark. I just thought he was the value. Consistent throughout his 2- and 3-year-old career, winning and placing in some nice races, especially at the back end of last season when he was second in the 26th run of Cambridgeshire Handicap, that we know you almost need a group horse in a handicap to go and win that race. Seeing once this season, he got back to winning ways in very classy style, I thought, in the John Smith's Cup. That's not an easy race to win at all. I just thought he's still improving. This yard's known for bringing on horses out of handicaps into group races, and around 5-1, he represents some big value for me. So I am slightly afraid of taking on the favourite Grosser Jack, but I thought Anmar was a nice each-way bet at 5-1. Frankie, for yourself in this one?
Similar, well, same but different. Grosser Jack deserves all respect, but I'm not going for Anmar. I'm going for Intelligent, who finished behind Anmar, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, not far.
Yeah, not far behind. Yeah, as Paul was talking through Grosser Jack, I've just been having a flick through, and I'm like half going back on my word. They were 9 lengths clear in that listed race, and if you look at Cadillac's run at Ascot, second behind Dubai Future went on to go and come third in a Group 2. So the form all kind of adds up there. They were the two I was going between. But I'm gonna stick with my selection as we do. We put our picks in first, and I can't go back on myself now. If you watch that race back at York for Intelligent, didn't have, or I wouldn't say unlucky in running in the sense that he ran into trouble, but just had to wait for his moment, and it came a little bit too late. It was waiting, finally got a little bit of a break and finished really, really strongly. And I wonder if he was able to kick a little bit sooner, might he have got close to Amat or even won that race. If you go back again to a second at Ascot, that form adds up quite nicely with the first coming out and coming third, the third place in that coming out and winning. And I think even if you look at Kalos, who came second in that event at York, he went out and won as well. So there's a lot of back form in these handicaps. You're kind of weighing up the group, potential group horse Grosser Jack versus horses like Amat and Intelligent that have been running well in good handicaps off near top of the market. For once, I'm going with the handicapper rather than the higher rated Grosser Jack. So a tricky one. Those top three, it seems to be. I can hardly split them, but an each way price, Intelligent will be my selection.
Yeah, it does look quite a fascinating event, doesn't it? Because as you say, it's a handicappers going up into group races, and are they good enough to be group horses? And then you've got the proven Grosser Jack last time out, and obviously ran an absolute cracker. So yeah, an interesting race at Haydock. So the fourth race from Ascot we're going to cover on ITV this weekend is the 320 Curragh Cup Challenge over 1 mile 4. Frankie, I found this race very, very difficult to go through. Who did you land on?
It is, yeah. And another one, like you're looking at the prices and you've got 3-1, 7-2, 7-2 at the top. It's hard work, isn't it? The Whipmaster is where I'm looking. It won 4 handicaps on the bounce. The mark's steadily going up and keeps winning. They've obviously doing a great job with this horse of one, running it nice enough so that the handicapper doesn't crucify it, and 2, getting it to keep improving the way it is. Last time out was second, so after 4 or 5 on the trot, did get pipped by Juan de Montalban, however you say that, but they were 14 lengths clear of third. So there's 2 at the top of the market there that are arguably still well handicapped, and they're miles clear of third. And if you look at that horse that won that race, previously did win at Ascot, came 14th, but was stepped up to 1-6, and then when it came back to 1-3, won again at Ascot. So you'd argue that on that day, when it beat the Whipmaster, it probably still had a bit in hand because it went on to win again after another handicap. So the Whipmaster to continue its rise from a mark of like the low 70s up into the 90s for me.
Yeah, definitely a solid shout. Paul, I think, are you a similar opinion with this one?
Yeah, I've gone with the Whipmaster. I thought that was a cracking run even the last day, despite finishing second. As Frankie mentioned, the pull well cleared the third. The winner is now rated 104. The highest rated here is 97. He is facing certainly two horses that are coming in here in cracking form, but I think at odds of around 4-1, 9-2, I'd be happy to get involved with the Whipmaster.
Yeah, I do like the Whipmaster as well. I just found this race so hard to go through. And I just thought, you know what, looking through the market, I'm going to take a bit of a chance. And I've gone for a 16-1 shot, and I've gone for the top weighted Angel Power. She was a very consistent horse earlier on in her career, landed a 4-timer as a 3-year-old, which included a listed race in France, a Group 3 in England, Group 2 in Italy. She was a very smart horse, running against some very good horses. Not as good as a 4-year-old. She returned this season in similar form, and she's almost lost her mojo slightly. But now she's dropped back into an easier handicap. She's going up in trip for the first time, and the back end of her pedigree suggests she might get it, even though her dam never raced over 10 furlongs, or further than 10 furlongs. Other horses in her family have gone over 12 furlongs, so I do think that she will get the trip, even though she hasn't been tried at it. She's been creeping down the weights now to a mark of 97. So I think it's the lowest she's ever been. Look, she's a big price of 16-1 in this field. But I thought, getting anywhere near back to the form that she's shown previously in her career, 16-1's a huge price. It's asking a lot, really, because she is the top weight in this field. But just thought a very chancy selection, but interesting if she did get back to the best of her form. So Angel Power for me in that one. So the only race we're going to cover from Newmarket on Saturday is the feature event from the Flat Racing HQ, and it's the Group 3 Sweet Solera Stakes over 7 furlongs. A nice event for the juveniles. Talk us through your selection, Paul.
Ivory Madonna gets the tentative nod here. Finished second behind the Ralph Beckett newcomer at Newmarket last time out. Was a beaten favourite on that occasion, but she's generally there or thereabouts. You could argue she's not from 3. She is beginning to look a tad exposed, but she's got the right man on top in Richard Kingscott. So Ivory Madonna, I'm seeing round about 4-1, 11-2 here. If you shop around, she gets the tentative nod here. I think the Carl Burke trained Novake, Clifford Lee, she was very impressive now when scoring on debut at Doncaster, and has to be of interest here. But it's Ivory Madonna for me.
Yeah, Ivory Madonna, because of the form of that third at Royal Ascot in the Albany Stakes. Obviously, Meditate, we know, is a really nice horse. Moore just come out and beat Lazoo. Lazoo's gone on to win. I was just very surprised to see Ivory Madonna not come out and win that maiden Newmarket next time out. We don't know how good that funny story is, do we? We don't know until it runs next time out. But I was just disappointed to see Ivory Madonna not going to win that day. And look, could turn out to be a really nice filly. But that just put me off in this one. Frankie, who were you going for?
Lakota Sioux. I went back and forwards between Ivory Madonna, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you, James. Just that Newmarket run really put me off. If you didn't have that race and you looked at that bare Ascot form, be absolute nap coming into this. Ascot.
She wouldn't be 4-1, would she? If she would be coming in as a strong favourite, wouldn't she? Definitely.
100%. But that Newmarket, it is off-putting, and I watched it back, and it's it just didn't. I think you just would have expected a lot more that day, and maybe it's an off day, or maybe the winner is impressive, and we don't know. Like you said, we'll find out. But I couldn't have her off the back of that, so I did go with the other horse that came out of the Chesham, obviously a listed race rather than a group race in Lakota Sioux. Ran a good race that day. Holloway Boy obviously was the story of Ascot. Backed that up, in my opinion. Although didn't win, still a second in a Group 2 is good enough for me off the back of that form. There are a couple others in there that haven't quite performed. I think that Purling Path hasn't really been too good, and neither a couple in behind. But I take that Holloway Boy form and have a crack off the back of that. And all runs have been over 7 furlongs. A third of first and a third one of them at the Royal Meet is good enough for me in a race where I find it tricky to find one.
Yeah, I was absolutely the same opinion as you. Lakota Sioux for me, for exactly the reasons you've just said. I don't think I could have put a better myself, to be fair, how you put that. So Lakota Sioux for me. And look, the Colberg horse is interesting. Also, the Ismail Mohammed horse is interesting for me. But the way Holloway Boy run, a lot of people actually were coming away thinking it's not a great Chesham. Obviously, it was a shock, the Chesham City in the top 3. But Holloway Boy came and ran a cracking race in the Vintage, just picked on the line. I'm happy to take that form with Lakota Sioux, and I just like to see her go and win this and just prove a little bit of that form, because I think the Chesham is a nice race over the years, and I do think Holloway Boy's a nice horse, so I'm happy to follow that in. So yeah, Lakota Sioux for me as well. So next up at Ascot is the Dubai Duty Free Curragh Cup Mile. Frankie, a tricky punching event like many on the card at Ascot. Who have you gone for in this one?
I hardly had a look. I literally just saw Isla Kai and thought, this horse has got to bloody win one day. I mean, I must have put this horse up the last 3 times and it just can't win. Everything's going wrong. And I saw Frankie's booked. Another drop in the weights down to a mark of 97. I mean, have you got a price in front of you? I haven't got a price, but I'm going with Isla. What is it, 5 to 1? There you go. You can play it each way. Frankie's on board. The mark's still dropping. Has to have a chance. Has to.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm so frustrated with this horse, and I just want it to win so badly. And I think Saturday could be the day. I don't like taking on William Haggas horses whenever they're near the top of the market. I don't, because he's a brilliant trainer. That's been brilliant all season. And I've got two. I've done the selections all for Ascot, already. And in the first race, I've gone against Haggas, who's got a favourite, and in this one, I've gone against Haggas, who's got a favourite. So we'll see what happens. But I have gone with Isla Kai as well. Just such a consistent horse that doesn't really ever get his head in front, and a lot of that will put a lot of people off. But I just think today, off his mark of 97, being a course and distance winner, yes, off £7 lower, but he's just got to win sometime soon, hasn't he? And I think this is a perfect opportunity. The drop in the weights, I think it makes it a lot easier to put him up. His run at the start of the season
was in the hundreds, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was in exactly the 100. Yeah, it was winning at 90. Well, won at 90, second 94, fourth at the start of the season in the Spring Cup behind Modern News, Migration, Rogue Bear. They were all really good handicappers. And he was a close fourth that day, and that was off 99. Sorry, that was, and he's 97 here. He's £2 lower. So yeah, Isla Kai for me, and hopefully it's his day to go and get his head front. For you, Paul.
Yeah, just going to mention, I think the Haggas team have been lucky here, because I think Danny Tudhope is a jockey that he uses quite a bit when he can, when Danny's available, and it suits in the north for his northern runners. So he's been lucky with the draw of the jocks here. But I've gone with the Jessica Harrington trained Jungle Cove, who won a Premier Handicap over a mile and 2 at Leopardstown at the beginning of July. Finished second behind Aidan O'Brien trained Sharp Bay at Gorham Park. Since then, the mile trip was probably sharp enough for Jungle Cove, but he won over 8 furlongs at Dundalk earlier in his career, and with a relatively small field, hopefully I think he can get a decent position from stall 5 and give you a good run for your money. So Jungle Cove for me. Yeah,
Jungle Cove's been in some really good form recently, and definitely got a chance around the 11-2 mark. So the big race of the day on ITV and in the UK and Ireland is the Group 1 Keeneland Phoenix Stakes from the Curragh over 6 furlongs. This race over the years has thrown out some really, really nice winners, but I think this year's could be an absolute cracker. We've got Bradsell at the top of the market, British Raider for Archie Watson around the 15-8 mark. We've got Little Big Bear for Aidan O'Brien, 9-4. He also has Blackbeard at 9-2. Persian Force currently in the market around 6-1, could be a huge price come the end of the day, because a very smart horse for Richard Hannon. Shartash, a horse I know you tipped up before, Paul, for Johnny Murtagh, and Apache Outlaw at 40-1 for Joseph O'Brien. Paul, we'll start with you. Who did you land on?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Shartash. Again, he course and distance winner last time out, winning the Group 2 Railway Stakes, had Blackbeard in behind him. Had to switch on a couple of occasions. up the home straight and had his momentum checked. But when he did get out, the acceleration was electric, and it was instant. And given the size of the horse, he's still learning on the job. He's a horse that I think Johnny Murtagh thinks an awful lot of. So I think he will have to step up again, but and will need a little bit of luck. But I think Shartash, I can't believe I'm seeing 8-9 to 1 here. I think he's definitely shorter than that. So I'd be happy to play at 9s.
It's a fascinating race, isn't it? Because then I think, like, obviously, very surprised if Apache Outlaw wins this, but any of those top 5 could go and win. And you're right, that 8 to 1 could look absolutely huge, wouldn't it, after the race? I just don't think people are believing, just because probably what the other horses have won, that the races have gone on to win. They're maybe not believing that Shartash can get to the level that these are.
Sorry, James, just to break in, given he had Blackbeard in behind him, I know he only beat him a short head, but he had his run stopped a couple of times. He's quite a big, he's a gorgeous big horse, but you wouldn't think the acceleration was going to be as instant. So if he had a clear run, I think the winning distance that day would have been bigger. Blackbeard is 9 to 2, 5 to 1, and Shartash 9 to 1. It just doesn't seem right.
No, I agree. I don't see why Shartash should be 8 to 1 when Blackbeard's 9 to 2. I'd have them a lot closer in the market. But look, for your sake, 8 to 1 could be absolutely brilliant if you're going to have a bet on that. Frankie, for yourself in this one?
Hard, isn't it? It's tricky. It's definitely the race I'm most looking forward to watching. That's for sure. Yeah. To tell you who's going to win, I don't know. I think Persian Force is overpriced. You might argue that you'd like to see Persian Force win a little bit better at Newmarket, but he only did what he had to do that day. I think I've got to stick with the favourite. I watched that Ascot run back a couple of times. Was really, really impressive. And I think it's quite ballsy to come here with Bradsell. Over to Ireland in the mix with pretty much all of the best horses. And I think that says enough that they want to come here and they want to beat the likes of these horses and think that they can do that. So 7 to 4, it's not the worst price in the world. It's extremely competitive. If you could get more places, then you might be looking for an each way bet, and Paul's Shartash would be a great shout. If you could get 3 places on that, if there were more runners, it'd be brilliant. But with a small field and the quality that Bradsell showed at Ascot, I think I'm going to stick with the Fav.
Yeah, look, as we've said, it's such a tough race to call, and I was very, very tentative with this selection from going up and down. If I'm talking through it, and I could be completely wrong, but this is how I judged it. I wasn't worried about Blackbeard. I wasn't worried about Persian Force. I was worried about Little Big Bear, and I was worried about Shartash. I was extremely worried about Shartash because I still think this horse is just improving. But I did land on Bradsell for the simple reason that I couldn't see Blackbeard and Persian Force reversing the form. I thought when winning that Coventry Stakes, he still had a bit in hand at the line. I just don't think we've seen everything from this horse yet. Like you say, it is ballsy to come here. He could have gone in much more easier races, maybe Group 2, Group 3, after winning that Coventry Stakes. Wait for this Group 1. Holly Doyle on board like she was at Royal Ascot.
This is the only, if you're looking at all the Ascot form as well, the only runner to not have raced since, right? Yeah.
Out of those horses at the top of the market, yeah, because obviously Persian Force has come out and won a Group 2. Royal Scotsman came out of Goodwood, won a Group 2. Blackbeard's come out and won a Group 2. The form of that race is absolutely unbelievable. And if you don't think that Bradsell, if you don't think the 2 horses can reverse the form with Bradsell, unless you really want to go in on Little Big Bear and Shartash, you've got to stick with the favourite for me here.
Yeah, I agree.
A very, very tricky one. But when you break it down and try and find your angles in it, yes, I'm afraid of horses in this field, but I think Bradsell could be a little bit special. And it'd be nice for the British to have one up on the island, up on the Irish, and take a Group 1 off their hands. So, yeah, Bradsell for me in that one. So the penultimate race on ITV this Saturday comes from Ascot. It's the Curragh Cup Classic over 1 mile 4. And it looks as though we need a thorough stayer, I thought, in this race, Frankie. Who are you going for?
I am going for Franz Strauss, who actually finished 3rd behind Westover in a classic trial at Sandown on 2nd start, if you go back to April. ran at the Royal Meet, came 11th in a Class 2, and then beat Savvy Knight, who came 4th in that handicap at Ascot at Sandown. We're second to Australian Angel, who looks a decent horse as well. And you just wonder here if they got a pretty decent horse in a Class 3 handicap. Off a rating of 91 seems good enough for me. Does come back down in trip, which I never really liked to back horse coming back down. You always wonder why they went up and then came back down, but it might just be the way that racing's worked. And I think to come here, I mean, that 11th of 19's decent enough for Ascot anyway. And to come here for a rating of 91, that'd be where I'd be looking. Again, it's that annoying price of 7 2s, 3s, knocking around there. Maybe I'll be finding value winners rather than each way bets.
Paul, for yourself in this one?
I've gone with the William Haggis trained Mackie, who stayed on well to win over a mile and 2 on testing conditions at Haydock last time out, where he was recording his 3rd success. His previous 2 victories came on good ground. He's also ran well on good to firm ground at Sandown back in June when finishing 3rd of 8 in handicap company. But I was quite taken by his last time out success at Haydock, and I think Mackie can take a bit of beating here in the double green under Jamie Spencer.
Yeah. Jamie Spencer on board could just be left to glide late, come late, like Jamie Spencer did, and just take the race. But I think this could be one of the first races, and I think we've got to the second to last race of the 11 we're covering, where we're all had a different shout in this one. Because I've gone for Berkshire Breeze, a very consistent horse in his 6 races today, with a step up to this trip, bringing big improvement throughout the season. Racing 5 times this season. He's not been out the placings in his last 4 events. With his latest run at Ascot, over 2 furlongs further, 14 furlongs, in one of his best, when ahead second in a similar event, behind a nice horse who's since finished second in a decent event. The drop down to 12 furlongs, like I said, is no problem because I think he stays well at this trip. I just thought out of all the horses, he was fairly solid. And yes, I would maybe have liked 5 to 1, so you could have gone each way. But around 10 to 3, 7 to 2, I'm still happy to play Berkshire Breeze in this, and I think he's a solid contender for the race. So the final event we're covering on this week's pod is the 5 past 5 Curragh Cup Sprint over 6 furlongs. Paul, who's your last selection of the day?
Spangled Mac gets the tentative nod here. Spangled Mac completed the 4-timer with a fair bit in hand at Yarmouth last time out. That was back on the 21st of July. The £6 rise from the handicapper should make life a little bit tougher, but just mightn't be enough to stop Spangled Mac completing the 5-timer for trainer George Bowie, and Nicola Curry takes the mount.
Yeah, George Bowie, he knows how to win with these type of horses, doesn't he? Yeah. Just keep rolling them out, they keep winning, keep going up in the handicap, and they still keep winning. So where are we to say where Spangled Mac can stop his elevation? So yeah, 9 to 2 currently in the market. It's obviously got a big chance. Frankie, for yourself?
Yeah, I had a look at both of George Bowie's actually. One on the up and one on the down in the weights. Curragh's on at 16s. I nearly put a shout up for, but Admiral D, I'm going to stick with. I'm pretty much following the Lethal Levi form. This horse was actually rated 97 when not doing too well in a handicap, a Class 2 handicap at York, but Mark fell to 94, and in that race, I actually just clocked there was 2 places behind Lethal Levi, who got a hike in the weights, and then raced at Newmarket. That day, Admiral was second again to Lethal Levi. We haven't seen Admiral D since Lethal Levi took another hike in the weights, then went and won at Newmarket next time out, and then was Fancy for Goodwood when missing the start. Now, if you follow that trajectory, given that Admiral D only comes in off of £2 higher, 95, I think it's got to be in with a chance in this handicap. So I'm kind of pinning my hopes on that form. But I mean, even if you look around the races that he's running besides that, I think he's got to have a chance here.
Yeah, I think both you put up have definitely got shouts. One I will just mention is Conflict. I think Conflict runs, been in some nice form of late. It's got a big chance around 17 to 2 mark. But I couldn't go through this podcast without putting a Haggis horse up, and I can't go against him anymore. Because I do think Rosena does win this event. Seen 4 times today. Looks a nice daughter of Kodiak. Made an impressive debut in April, over 7 furlongs at Newbury when winning by a length. And then off the back of that went to Newcastle and was 3rd behind a progressive type as High Vince All. Another good 3rd at Chester next time out. She was last seen at Carlisle in a fillies handicap where she got back to winning ways off a mark of 82. She's only £4 higher for this event. She's got massive scope to improve in my eyes. And I just thought she's got a massive chance. And I think Haggis could have a really, really good day, even though I've tried to take him on everywhere possible. I couldn't in this event. And I'll be going with Rosanna in the last. So that's all the races covered this week on the pod, fellas. 11 races we've gone through. Some really tough punting events. I think all I want from you now, please, is your nap on Saturday. And Frankie will give you the honour this week.
Oh, good news, because Paul likes this one as well. There's a couple, but it's got to be the Whipmaster for me. In the 320, as I said, has been going up the weights and winning, and just seemed to bump into another that was well handicapped last time when they went clear of third. So, yeah, the Whipmaster in the 320 will be my best bet.
Okay, Paul, for yourself?
Well, at a working man's price, we all kind of were in agreed that Chartash is way overpriced, around about the 8 or 9 to 1 mark in the Phoenix Stakes at the Curragh at 4.15. But I don't think Grocer Jack will be beaten in the 3 o'clock at Haydock.
Yeah, I think he's got a solid show. Obviously, we took him on, but yeah, he's definitely got a solid show. And probably, if you can guess from what I talked about him earlier, but Super Jack for me in the Stays event at Ascot. Should have won probably last time, was well backed off the boards, only £4 higher. I think he's got more in the tank. And around the 2 to 1 mark, I think can go very, very close. So thanks, Frankie. Thanks, Paul, for the selections this week. Nice to have the three of us back on a podcast together. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections for the weekend in the comment section below, and subscribe to the Wizzy Closer channel for plenty more racing content. And lads, all the best for the weekend.
Cheers, lads.
Nice one. Thank you.